Hi, welcome back to the Cuzzy Sound channel. For this rainy day project I'm going to show how I took my Fuzzface clone circuit. Remember the one? This was it. Just a bit of a circuit board with wires dangling from it last time round. And I converted it from a fuzz circuit into a fuzz box. Okay, guitar effects, stomp box type thing. But yeah, so I'm going to show you how to actually mount the circuit and wire things up such that you've got a bypass switch. There's also the battery is automatically connected and disconnected by inserting leads and things. So I'll show you how I put the wiring together to turn that basically bare circuit board with bits sticking off it into a credible guitar pedal. We'll start with a quick recap of the original circuit. So this is the tiny little circuit board, very simple circuit. In order to get the power into it, I just simply wired a switch between the input on the power input on the circuit board and the positive of the battery. There's no bypass switch in here, so with the power off, nothing happens, nothing goes in, nothing comes out. Turn the power on and you've got the effects circuit in there. So it's as basic as you can get. So we want to take that very basic design and put it into a usable, playable effects pedal. Before I talk about the battery connections, the box I'm using is a Hammond 1590B box housing, aluminium housing. It's one of the more common designs used for relatively small guitar effects pedals. This is a very small effects circuit, so it suits nicely. So I've simply drilled holes in, one for each of the potentiometers. So we've got the volume and the fuzz. We've got an input 1/4 inch or 6.3mm jack socket and an output jack socket. This hole here is where the foot switch, bypass switch, is going to go, and then of course we've got the battery connector at this end. So let's talk about the battery connector. As you've noticed, I don't have a switch on the battery anymore now, so how do we stop it going flat and how do we turn it on and off? Well, this input socket is a stereo socket, so it has connections for the tip, the ring and the ground sleeve. But the way that we're wiring it up, the audio in is going to the tip, which is what you'd expect. But on what would be the ring connector, which would be the second stereo channel, we've connected the negative lead from the battery clip. And then the earth is connected to the earth on the effects circuit. Now how this works is when you plug a mono jack plug in, the signal goes to the tip as usual, but the sleeve of the mono jack plug will connect the battery negative to the ground on the circuit, thus completing the power circuit and switching the battery on. Now, provided you remember to unplug your instrument or whatever you've got plugged in there when you've finished using the pedal, then that will disconnect the battery and stop it going flat. So we can switch the battery on and off without having to have a separate on and off switch. Okay, so that gets power into the circuit. What we really want is some bypass so we can turn the effect on and off as we want. So this is the foot switch, which we're going to use as the bypass switch. It's a double pole, double throw switch. The common connectors are in the center. So on this side we've got audio in, and on this side we've got audio out. So the audio in goes to the input jack and the audio out goes to the output jack, which is actually mono jack. We're not using stereo on this side, we don't have to. And then In this switch position, the audio in would connect to the effect in, which is connected to the input of the circuit, and also in this position, because it's the double pole, the audio out will connect to the output from the effects circuit, so the signal will go in through the switch, through the circuit, through the switch, and out again. On this side of the switch, these two legs are connected together with a shorting wire. So when the switch is thrown into this position, the audio in goes into this leg of the switch, through the shorting wire, and straight to the audio out, thus bypassing the effects circuit. So that is how we get our bypass. Now there's nothing clever on this, there's no debounce, dethump or anything, which there's more sophisticated bypass switch designs that will do that for you if you want it. But this is a simple circuit, and in the interest of keeping it simple, this is the simplest way of achieving bypass. And it works. Works for me. Okay, so what's required now is to finish mounting everything in there. So in terms of mounting the circuit board itself, I've used, you can just about see it sticking out at the bottom here, I've used sticky foam strips stuck to the back of the potentiometers, and then the circuit board literally stuck down on the other side of the sticky foam. So it insulates it, it doesn't short it out on the potentiometers, but it holds it nicely in place. And then at this end, I've added a bit of foam to the bottom of the box and a bit of foam to the bottom of the foot switch, which together hold the battery nice and firmly in place while still making it easy to take it out and replace it once it goes flat. And that really is it. That kind of completes what we're looking for. So turning it all over again, we have input, output, volume control, fuzz control, bypass foot switch. At some point I ought to get round to painting and maybe even labelling things, but for now it's functional. So there you go. That's how I converted the simple fuzz circuit into a fuzz box. Well, that's how I put it together. What we're really interested in is, what does it actually sound like? So what I've got the guitar, and it's just a cheap Strat copy. Although I think it sounds alright. I've got it going into the fuzz box, out the fuzz box into a desk mixer. So it's not actually a guitar amp as such, it's just the audio mixer. So it's probably not going to sound brilliant as far as guitar amplification goes, but it's good enough to demonstrate when I demonstrate. So we start off with just a straight guitar, and so we're on bypass. So if you remember from the diagrams, basically the input is connected directly to the output. And now with a bit of distortion. Yeah, that fuzzes. So, if you want to turn your fuzz circuit into a fuzz box,
I've shown you how to wire up the batteries and the bypass and what have you, and the rest of it's just basically drilling holes and screwing things down. So yeah, go on, have a go, build your own.